I want to talk about building a following. We've talked about organically how to get reach and so forth, but I want to talk about the next step you have to do, because you don't own the audience. When we go on, even when we get lots of views and followers and blah blah blah, we don't get anything long term from that. We rent those audiences. We're not owning them. So in order to own the audience, we have to pull people off of whatever the platform is. In this case, we're talking about TikTok, and get them into a mailing list, right? That's what we need to do. That's going to be the easiest thing to do. The way to do that is to have very interesting, relevant hooks of things like content. Usually it's going to be around content. It could be other things. It could, people will sign up for things like discounts and so forth, but they tend to be very sort of like jump in, jump out. Like that's doesn't really have staying power. So if you want people to stay with you long term, you have to give them something that is going to be useful to them. So I don't know what that is right now for your audience, but so let me give you an example. I just did this on one of my own videos. I actually backed into it sort of accidentally. I did a video on landing page templates, and it was just about how to build a website that's going to convert ad audiences, which is a necessary thing in a marketing funnel. Well, people were like, it blew up, and I'm getting DM'd every day, like multiple times a day, every day, for links to this. So when I did it again, I built a landing page. It took me 10 minutes, and I just made it a delivery landing page. Sign up, download the thing. And I didn't force anybody to sign up. I just put right next to the download link, I put, join Sean's mailing list and, whatever. And sure enough, I've been getting signups ever since. So I'm starting to pull that audience into my list so I can then market to them later. Now, I'm not really going to market as much to that audience. I'm really just going to talk to them. I'm going to treat them with respect, because if people do give you their email address, these days they don't have a lot of tolerance for any spam, especially if you're not a trusted entity that they already know and so forth. And even then you got to earn it with every newsletter. So, in my case, I just believe that you do 90% education, 90% content, and 10% at most sales, and make it very sort of soft shoe dance, so people don't become allergic to the messaging. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, because a lot of times when you look at things online, it's like, oh, another ad, another ad, another ad.
We're
And,
sick of it.
and
They say we're advertised to 10,000 times a day. And I don't know if that's true, but even if it was half that, it's insane. So we become ad blind. So that we as content creators, we as companies, brands, we have to work around that. And we have to really be a benefactor to people. We have to improve people's lives. So I would say, thinking about it for you, is like, how can you actually improve the life of somebody like yourself, who is in that industry, has that job? And, in any way, and improving somebody's life can be making them
Mhm,
laugh,
mhm,
giving them a place to voice their frustrations.
mhm.
It could be giving them tips and education about something they did, whatever it is. Like, again, that's really part of the brand. And you think about your brand. What is your brand? What does it do? Who are we? And there's a whole branding exercise I take clients through. It takes about a half hour, so it's not something we could do on this call. But what it is literally defining your brand, in every sense. Like, even things like what colors does the brand use, and what is the emotional. We did a little of that earlier, but it's like sort of like, what's the core emotional message of the brand, and really like turning the brand into almost like a person. Um,
Mhm.
because it has a personality, and defining that personality, which then generates things like, what typefaces do you use, and what colors do you use, and and everything else that goes with it, right? Not just that, but yeah. So anyway, that's an important thing to do later, and not just because people think a brand is just like a logo, and it's not. A brand is an entity that should think, talk, act, um, consistently everywhere that it appears, in with a conscious mind to serve its audience and not alienate its audience.